Volkswagen, Dieselgate, emissions fraud, 2015, Germany/Global. There was a time when Volkswagen stood for trust, for quality, for the kind of reliability you could pass down from father to son. Their cars were not just machines, they were symbols of progress. But in 2015, the world discovered something dark hiding under that shiny hood. Something that turned pride into shame. This is the story of how one of the world's biggest automakers built an empire on a lie. It all began with a dream, a people's car. That's what Volkswagen means in German. A car for everyone, from the worker to the wealthy. For decades, Volkswagen built its name on precision and perfection. By the 2000s, they weren't just a car company. They were a symbol of German excellence. Their commercials spoke of clean diesel, cars that were powerful, affordable, and kind to the planet. But behind those ads was a quiet pressure, the race to dominate the American market. In the US, environmental laws were strict, and diesel engines had a bad reputation. To conquer America, Volkswagen needed a miracle. They promised a diesel engine that was fast, fuel-efficient, and clean. Too clean, perhaps? In 2006, Volkswagen engineers faced an impossible challenge: meet strict US emission standards without sacrificing performance. But science didn't bend easily. So, someone decided to bend the rules instead. When the system sensed test conditions, it changed how the engine worked. Lowering emissions, burning cleaner. But once the test was over, and the car hit the open road, it went back to full power, releasing up to 40 times more pollutants than allowed. The world saw clean cars. But the air told another story. Years passed. The lie spread across continents. Millions of cars, from the Golf to the Passat, rolled out proudly with the clean diesel badge. Then came the tests. In 2014, a small research team from West Virginia University decided to test diesel cars for real-world emissions. They expected good results. Volkswagen had promised as much. But what they found didn't make sense. On the open road, Volkswagen cars polluted far more than the lab results showed. Something was wrong. Very wrong. They alerted the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. But Volkswagen denied everything. Months turned into a tense silence. Until one day, the silence broke. It was September 2015 when the truth came crashing down. The EPA announced that Volkswagen had cheated. 11 million cars, all rigged with the same deceitful software. Volkswagen CEO, Martin Winterkorn, appeared on television, his face heavy with shame. He said he was deeply sorry. But apologies couldn't wash away the stain. Soon, the company admitted everything. They had fooled not just regulators, but the world. It was one of the biggest corporate frauds in history, a betrayal wrapped in shiny metal and German engineering. Volkswagen's empire began to crumble. Fines poured in, billions of dollars. Executives were charged. Some went to prison. But the damage was far beyond money. In the US alone, the excess emissions were linked to hundreds of premature deaths. The very air people breathed had been poisoned for profit. The brand that once stood for honesty was now a global symbol of deceit. And yet, in the ashes there were lessons about ambition, about pride, and about how far a company will go to stay on top. In the years that followed, Volkswagen tried to rebuild. They invested billions into electric vehicles, swearing to never repeat their mistake. They spoke of transparency, of clean energy, of redemption. But some people never forgot. Because trust, once broken, is not so easily repaired. And while the company tries to shape a greener image, the memory of Dieselgate lingers, a quiet reminder that truth, like smoke, always finds its way out. In the end, this wasn't just a story about cars or pollution. It was about human nature, our hunger for success, and the lines we cross when we think no one's watching. If you've ever wondered how far people will go to protect their empire, remember Volkswagen's smoke. It wasn't just exhaust. It was a signal. A warning.